Well, it is January here in Minnesota, and as all good Midwesterners do, when it comes to recreation in 15-degree weather, our choices are limited. One of the choices obviously is, but we're not going to do that. So let's go ice fishing. Today we want to go ice fishing. I'm going to hike in a couple of miles into a place that's pretty secluded on the Mississippi River with a friend of mine, Don Schroeder, and hopefully we'll catch a few fish. I'm not a real big ice fisherman, but I ice fished a few years ago, and I'm going to give it a go again this year. And then hopefully we'll catch a few fish, and I'll give you a recipe. We're going to be fishing mainly for bluegills and for perch, and then maybe bass on occasion, but mostly perch I think today. So I hope you have a good time with this little version of Field to Feast. It's not quite as edited up as my other Field to Feast videos. It's going to be more like a video blog. So from here on out, most of my videos will probably be more video blogs, and I'm hoping to get out a few more times here in the winter and ice fish, and I'm hoping to also have opportunities in spring to turkey hunt, and there'll be obviously more trout fishing as the spring warms up, white bass fishing in the spring as well. But right now the big thing is let's go ice fishing. Okay, so I'm here with my friend Don Schroeder, and we came out ice fishing because when it's 15 degrees outside, it's not a whole lot of things you can do, but ice fishing happens to be one of those. So we came out and been fishing for about 2 hours.
I don't know if you can see my hand.
It does get really.
It gets pretty bloody out here.
Yeah, well, I think is that actually ice or a fish?
My blood.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so he's cut himself, and I'm gonna have to hike out and bring help back to him, because I'm for sure not dragging him out of here.
I'm gonna have to carry less out and get help from myself.
So it is really cold, and I've caught 3 fish because I'm not really a professional ice fisherman. But Don, on the other hand, he is a professional ice fisherman, and he caught probably about 7 or 8. And we won't be here very long, but just wanted to give a little ice fishing report here. So we did make a fire. I'll show you the fire here. And Don's warming up. That's Don's gloves that are catching on fire. We're using those for kindling, and however the fire is on the ice, so it made a little bit of a puddle, which I guess that's okay. We've been keeping it going.
If anybody says that it's not cold this time of year in Minnesota, don't believe them.
Yeah, don't believe them, because in Minnesota 15 degrees is kind of cool.
We're gonna sleep out here by the fire now.
I'm going to have a water bed because there's a puddle underneath the fire. And over here are our ice fishing holes, and here's one of our little rigs. And I'll show you in just a second what we're using. Unless Don doesn't want me to, because it's secret knowledge. So there's our little ice fishing rigs, and hopefully we'll yank one out. Oh, and here's some of the fish we've caught. There's 3. And I'm going to go right over here, and here's a pile of fish that and there's the latest one, which was a nice one that Don caught right there. So, and I'll just move. We use these little, what are these called? These tips, Don? These little tips? Don, what are these little tips called? Oh, I'm getting a bite, actually. Let's see if I can catch one. Oh, he's biting it. There he goes. There he is. And
there you go. Did you film it?
Yeah, I did. I actually got him on. So there he is. That's what one looks like.
I think there's one over in this hole too left.
So Don's got a setup with several different types of several different little rigs that the perch are going after. He has caught a couple of bass, but they're back in the hole. One of them intentionally, and one of them fell back in the hole. But Show us what you're using here.
All right, what we're using on this rod is a what's called a Swedish pimple, and it's a little piece of shiny metal that mimics a minnow, about the shape of a minnow. This one's a number 2 mother of pearl. It's got a little pearl white on the one side of it.
All right, and then I'm going to move in real close.
It's got a little red spinner that flashes like blood to attract the fish, and it's got a treble hook on it with a minnow head. They call a rosy. It's like a goldfish, yeah.
Okay, like a goldfish. Just like the goldfish you had at home as a pet and you loved and cried when you lost. And why do they use the minnow heads, Don?
Well, I think the minnow head actually works better than the whole minnow because they're pretty small hooks, and so the fish can get the minnow head in their mouth, and when they do that they get at least 1 or 2 of the treble hooks in their mouth, and it's easier to bring them in that way.
Okay. What's on the other line over here?
This one is just set up with a small bright fluorescent jig. And this one we have the whole minnow on, a whole rosy minnow.
Oh, I gotta get it where it focuses on that minnow. There we go.
With a single hook, and it's a titanium jig, so it actually sinks pretty good, even though that minnow is still alive and swimming around a little bit. So we'll put him back in the water here.
All right.
Ice is freezing right on the top of the hole. It's so cold out here today.
Yeah, it's so cold. There's ice forming in the minnow bucket, and so we're going to start ice fishing. We're going to have to auger through to get to our minnows now.
All right, so jig. You can see that little jig.
So Don just dropped that jig back in the water. I just turned the camera off, and just as he was dropping it down after the illustration, boom, he got hit, and probably the biggest one of the day for
nice
perch.
Yeah.
Super.
See if we can get another one.
Awesome. Actually, I'm going to keep it filming.
I'm going to put this minnow back on. And,
is that one still alive?
Yep.
All right.
See if we can get another one on the same minnow. Dropping it back in the hole.
Sometimes Don was telling me that sometimes they come in 3 or 4 fish at a time, so you actually end up catching them bam bam because they're coming in as a small school. So we'll see. I'm going to zoom in on the tip there a little bit.
Oh, there's a bite.
Just a second. I'm going to pull it in, and there's a bite. We're watching the tip, and I've got it on the tip. If he hits again, Don's jigging it a little bit. And what's that tip called?
That's a spring bobber.
Spring bobber. So yeah, you don't have to have a bobber that goes under the water, because when the ice is over, when the whole ice is over, the bobbers don't work very good. So you can put a spring bobber right on the tip of your rod.
And the other thing is the fish are so cold that they bite pretty slow. So sometimes they'll have the bait right in their mouth, and with a regular rod you can't even see that tip move. But with that spring bouncing, you can tell that they're there, getting ready, and can actually set the hook sometimes just by that little bounce of the spring.
All right. Well, he didn't hit it again. There's the ice auger that we used. We didn't use it. Don used it to punch some holes. I actually convinced him that maybe the best thing to do would be to drag a sled out here and bring the ice auger. So the motor, one with the motor on it, because the other one's hand crank, and it's 16 inches of ice or so, which is really too much for doing hand augering. Don, did I ever tell you how you catch a polar bear?
No, you didn't. How do you catch a polar bear?
Well, the way you catch a polar bear is you make a big hole, a really, really, really big hole, like, kind of like that, only, you have to make it with a pick and a shovel. And then you sprinkle peas around it, and when the bear comes by, you kick him in the ice hole. Did you get that? Did you get that? Kick him in the ice hole.
Got it.
Not,
got it.
Yeah, the ice hole. Yeah. Yeah, that's Norwegian humor. I'm not Norwegian, so I probably didn't do a very good job of it. Beautiful sunset. Boy, there's nothing like a Minnesota winter sky. That's for darn sure. It's been really fun. Don is going to continue. We're going to continue fishing probably for another 10 or 15 minutes, and then hopefully we'll be able to find our way out. So that's what it's like in Minnesota, and we're only fishing in about 3 feet of water, which is crazy because 16 inches of it is ice. So the fish actually are having to swim sideways, kind of, you know, like that, because that's how close the ice is getting to the bottom. So it's pretty crazy.